Hey there, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're doing something fun today. We are calling up our buddy Dave Otero on Skype to do another podcast style.
And Dave Otero, who is that?
Dave Otero is a very well-known record producer in the metal scene. He has recorded and produced some amazing albums, such as The Lucid Collective by Archspire.
Nope.
Sorry, Relentless Mutation.
Yeah. He's from Denver, Colorado, and he runs Flatline Audio there. Actually, it's in Westminster, Colorado, just outside of
Westminster.
Westminster. We talk about studio stuff, his favorite parts, his least favorite parts, go in a little bit. We talk about what his career looks like, what his employment looks like now during the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, his career history. How he got into the industry.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about video editing.
Lots about video editing.
Getting into that sort of thing.
Learning how to get into recording as well, and just like maybe if you are trying to get into recording yourself and you want some tips, this is the video for you. So hopefully you enjoy our conversation with Dave Otero. Welcome back to our apartment where today Claire realized that killing her family in The Sims 2 is no longer fun. And you showed me a house that you made. Actually, that was last night. You
time
said,
to step it up. You know what's next? Real death.
Well, real death.
Yeah, that's
Dean,
right.
your time
and
is
excuse me. We'll introduce him in a moment. Excuse me.
Comedy bang.
This is gonna, yeah. So she's no longer playing The Sims 2, and she has no direction in her life.
Yeah, I didn't play The Sims 2 today. I mean, I've been playing it for days straight. But yeah, last night I finished building this fucking monstrosity of a house that took me like a few days to do. And
you showed it to me.
Yeah, I was like, Dean, will you please
and
look at this?
I was not impressed.
Yeah, will you please look at this? Because if I show it to someone, like I'll actually at least feel like this hours I spent doing this stupid thing means something. And then
it doesn't.
He didn't give a fuck.
No.
So anyway, today we have our buddy Dave Otero on.
Doesn't give a fuck.
Doesn't give a fuck, no. Our buddy Dave Otero is here, and so you might know Dave from such projects as recording my band, Archspire, and recording, well, that's all that matters, just my band. So, no, he's worked, he's out of Denver, Colorado, and Flatline Audio, so he worked with many good bands, continues to work with many good bands, and here he is. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Hey, Dave.
Hello,
How's
friends.
it going, buddy?
It's going well.
Yeah, what have you been up to today?
You know, all things considered.
Oh, what do you mean?
You know, the world's falling apart and all. Have you guys heard about that?
No.
We've just been continuing our lives as the exact same as we always have.
Yeah, but you should check out Claire's house in The Sims 2. It's crazy.
You should look at it. It's, really impressive.
So, Dave, when you jumped on this Skype call, Claire and I both noticed how absolutely unbelievably amazing the background of your video looks.
Just the whole video setup.
Yeah.
You are very separated from your background. I love colors. I mean, Dean makes fun of me all the time because I got like a rainbow mouse and a rainbow mouse pad, and I got like a color changing light behind my guitar and everything. So the fact that you have this very beautiful blue like silk fucking curtain,
I just tried
backlighting you.
The blue thing is new. I just tried it out today, but all the cool YouTubers have blue black grounds. Blue
Fucked up
backgrounds. I bleeped up my talking.
Yeah, it looks great.
But yeah, it looks
jealous.
cool, yeah.
Very
I did
jealous
install
of
that curtain
Yeah.
specifically for videos, though, because otherwise you just saw down the weird hallway and it looked terrible.
Yeah, so I actually know this room quite well. So right now, Dave, I'm gonna assume that you're sitting right at the normal chair that you always sit at, and everything is the same.
Yep.
Yeah, and anybody online that follows the back of Dave Otero's head, you'll know that the couch directly behind him is where people sit when they work at a studio, and that's where they see the back of his head in all its glory. So, so this is your studio in Denver, Colorado.
Yes. Well, outside of Denver.
Yeah, it's outside of
Westminster,
Denver.
Colorado, to be specific.
Right. So how many gun stores are around there?
A good amount.
A good amount.
None of them. Actually, I don't think gun stores are considered. What's the word?
Essential.
Essential service.
Yeah. I know a lot of them were probably fighting that because if there's one thing gun store owners love to do, it's fight the man.
Right. Yeah. Well, so when we were down there and you were reminding me of this the other day, it was 2016 that we recorded there, which is crazy. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I remember you being there, dude. Like, I remember that
super
vividly.
long time ago.
Mm-hmm. It is crazy that...
What the hell are you drinking?
Who cares?
You can't just bring up a fucking mystery can. It's not turned towards the camera.
No free promo. No free promo.
It's just some of my own pee. I've been doing that lately.
Oh wow! Oh,
dude,
great.
Dude, you give free promo because then the companies will be like, oh, you like my stuff? I'll give you a deal. That's how it fucking works.
That's not how it
you
works.
scratch their bag, they might scratch yours.
It's
so what are you drinking?
Celsius energy drink, non-carbonated. Oh, it's Chelsea's. I stole it.
Is it good?
It is pretty good. Yeah, she loves them. She goes through these like crack. Chelsea's massively addicted to energy drinks.
Crack. Oh.
I do like energy drinks.
She's
massively addicted to crack.
Crack. So when we were there in 2016, we shot some guns, and that was very cool. And I think I told you about that, and you've never shot.
Well, now I have, but at that time I had never shot a gun.
When did
I went to the shooting range and I fucking cried.
Oh, right. Too much to handle for Claire.
Well, so I've never shot a gun before. I've never like held a gun or heard how they sound in real life, and I feel like I have pretty good hearing. Like when we go to see a fucking movie, I will put earplugs in because I find the movie theaters too loud.
Yeah.
And so that you put in like all this heavy duty fucking stuff, and then the target we had was the shape of a human head, like it was like a bust. And they're like, okay, stare down the scope and fucking shoot. And I'm like, the guns were so loud, it was like freaking me the fuck. I was so loud, and I was like already shaking, and then I'm holding this fucking like weapon of mass destruction and staring down a thing to shoot at somebody shaped as a human being. I like shot a couple times and I was like, fuck this. I was crying and I left.
Shooting ranges are honestly pretty lame. Like I've done that a few times. I think I've been maybe shooting once, literally since I was with you guys 4 years ago. So I don't go very often.
Right.
But shooting ranges in general are lame. They're dark, they're crowded, it's super loud. You're in like an enclosed space, like it smells all like the gunpowder. It's just like it's not fun. But if you do what we did and you go to like an approved, outdoor area for this stuff or even an outdoor range, it's way more fun. You have some room around you. Even if there are people, it's not so claustrophobic. It's not as loud. It's still massively loud. You have to wear ear protection, of course. But
so loud.
I shot one round out of an AK without earplugs just to try it out once, and it was a huge mistake. Yeah.
Oh man.
It was so fucking loud.
Yeah. Yeah. When we were there at the and you say it was an approved outdoor range.
I remember you saying there was like a little kid there.
Yeah.
It was an approved area. It wasn't a range. There was no range master.
I would say it was an area. It was an area, and people opened fire just on that area. And there was a TV there, and some dude let me use his pump action shotgun and blow up his whoever's TV there. It was cool. It was very fun. That was the first time that I had ever shot anything other than like a pistol. But the thing that I remember the most was that hunting rifle that somebody pulled out right before we left. And that was unreal. That was like, I could feel it through my chest. Like it hurt almost to be around it.
Yeah, I felt that at the shooting range. Like it was like shaking your sternum. Like you're feeling it in your whole body.
I love that. It's similar to like the sound of fireworks. Like this, that's my favorite part of fireworks is that concussive wave that you feel. It's like more sub and like pure audio power than any like consumer system can reproduce. I really
you really like sounds.
What?
I'm just saying it's like your profession makes sense. You're fucking like you love this. You're talking in like high description about the sound of a firework. I've never thought about that shit in my fucking life.
You've never thought about the sound of a firework?
No, I haven't thought about like how it affects me and what parts of the sound hit me and I find interesting. It's like there's a fucking loud cracking sound. Like
when's the last time you saw like fireworks for real, like not on a TV?
Oh, people fucking like shoot off fireworks in Burnaby all the time.
No, not that kind. I mean like the big one, like the real commercial, like way up in the air.
Well, I was
Canada Day a few years ago.
I was living in Vancouver during the Olympics, and that was like fireworks every single night, nonstop, with the craziest shit. And after that, I was like, "Fuck fireworks! I don't care anymore."
Was that when they had each country had like their own competition or something, and each night?
No, they have that every year. That's the Symphony of Lights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that they have the Benson and Hedges, which is a cigarette company.
That's a cigarette. Those are pretty good cigarettes.
Oh. Yeah. So, but anyway, that was a cool time to shoot guns, and since then I have not shot any guns. But it's just not something that we really do here in Canada.
No,
I mean that shooting range was busy.
Yeah.
That's why that was kind of the deal, the shtick, the joke, if you will.
Yeah. So what's
because you're Canadians.
So what's going on with you lately? Are you just spending lots of time in your studio, or are you working on projects? What are you doing?
Yeah, been real busy. Really, literally until this week, I've been real busy mixing. I spent the last 3 weeks mixing 2 different projects. Before that, I was on one project for a really long time that turned out was very taxing, but turned out real cool. But yeah, I was actually supposed to be starting a new project this week that has been postponed. So
a new project, and that was recording a full album, having the band in there and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a big hit to your income. Is that something that you're sort of thinking about every day, or are you just no, I'm got lots of stuff to tide me over?
I mean, it is because my lady partner Chelsea also essentially lost her income. But we'll be fine, and I'm just hoping things return to normal in 4 to 6 weeks ish.
Right, normal-ish.
I do have almost all of May is more mixing again, so the mixing and mastering stuff's fine. I do it all myself, and I live essentially right next door to the studio, so I can still come over here. I'm not breaking any rules or laws. But yeah, it was a bummer that I don't know. I'm glad I had a certain amount of mixing and mastering gigs lined up, and I'll probably squeeze a few more in this month. I'm sure I can pick some last minute stuff up.
Have you ever experienced anything like this before when it comes to a big lag in business, or have you been pretty much busy since you started the studio, and then now you're like, oh, whoa? Weird.
No, the last 2 years it's probably been really busy. But I mean, I've been doing this for a crazy long time, almost 20 years, I think. Wait, no.
Wow, that's crazy. And you barely look a day over 15.
Yeah, well.
We covered this with Malcolm, so we don't need to restate our ages, but how old are you, Dave?
38. 38.
Whoa, so you started...
You don't have to be so...
You're like, whoa!
No, I'm saying...
Dave, I'm saying, hey, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
I'm saying whoa at the fact because that means you started doing what you do when you were 18.
Yeah, about that.
That's what's crazy.
That is crazy.
That is what's crazy. I'm sorry. It's not about your age, your current age. It's about the age that you began your profession.
The first, sure, whatever. The first...
Yeah.
The first
apology not accepted.
The first gig that I did that was a turning point for me probably was Lucid Interval by Cephalic Carnage. And it was either 19 or 20 when we started recording that album. I remember at the time Zach worked at a brewery and he brought a growler over, and I could hear them whispering dude, should we give Dave some? I don't know, is it? So yeah, I couldn't legally drink at that point, so they were all nervous about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because the drinking age here in Canada is 19, or at least in some provinces.
Yeah, in Alberta it's actually 18.
Yeah, but that's funny. So when you were 18, 19, you were just getting into it, and were you scared to work with those dudes? Is that oh man, this is a band that you liked and you're kind of nervous, or was it a band that you kind of were more or less unknown of, or you didn't really know of them very well and you're oh yeah, this could be cool?
I mean, they were total local Denver heroes, so they were the big deal, the metal band, extreme metal anyway, from Colorado forever.
Right.
But the first thing I actually did with them was an EP called Halls of Amenti. That was a 20-minute long doom song that Cephalic Carnage did, after their first album. Cool. It was on Willowtip, It wasn't on Relapse, but it was really fun and experimental. And I didn't know him that well at that point. But I think in between that and Lucid, I had actually done some touring with him, doing live sound.
Right. Yeah.
So I was, at that point, you're pretty comfortable with the dudes, and there wasn't really... I mean, I probably had nerves on, like, delivering a good product because, you know, I hadn't really done that. And dealing with the label, that was probably more of, like, the nervous side was the professional aspect of it. But as dealing with the guys at that point, I was just comfortable.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm curious, like, how you got into it and why, because that's a young age. It seems like you would have gotten into it right out of high school. So is that something that you sort of always wanted to do, and how the fuck did you get into that?
I kind of just fell into it. I did start like in high school, and I had been a musician forever. I started playing drums when I was like 8 or something like that. And my brother, who's 6 years older than I am, played guitar, and we used to jam. And when I was maybe 10 or 11, he conned me into like spending all of my allowance with him to buy a 4-track that then he confiscated and I like got to use like once ever. But then he drifted off, and then that kind of just like ended up in my hands like 5, 6, 7 years later. And then I was just recording my own bands and thought it was cool. I had a good buddy named Geraldo who, like, at this time I was playing in like punk bands and crust bands and grindcore bands and stuff like that. And he was a dude from that scene who my bands would record with. We became friends, and I started kind of like peeking over his shoulder every now and again, getting some information. And then he actually let me borrow. There was a period where he just had a lot of his own gear in storage and wasn't using it, so he let me use a lot of his gear, and I was starting to put my stuff together. But I remember the moment where I'm like plugging microphones into this 4-track in my mom's basement. I didn't have mic stands, so I had to tape them to the ceiling and like hang them down over the drums. Yeah. And pulled off all kinds of like ceiling shit. My mom should have stoked about that. But I remember like plugging this mic in and like trying to set this level on this crappy 4-track, and I was like, I should do this as a job. And like literally from that part, that was just like what I focused on. I started saving up money and bought a little mixing board, and then bought some ADATs and was bussing tables and buying audio gear.
That's really like the big thing too is like it's just amassing the gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like,
and it was even more difficult back then. You know, it's like less. The computers couldn't really do all of it, so you had to record. At that time, I was tracking to ADATs, and then I got into the game right when it was possible to like dump digital audio from ADATs into a computer and mix. But this is like 15 years ago or longer, so computer power was much more limited. And
I mean, when I was first getting into like trying to record just even myself as a guitar player, like I bought an interface probably 7 years ago or something, and I was like, I bought it and it sat in my room for a year because I was like, I don't know. Every time I would plug it in, I would hit a wall where I was like, I don't get this part of it, and then I would give up for like a month or two, and then okay, cool, okay. Like I know how to use computers. I've been on computers since I was like 5 years old. For some reason, it was just a big hurdle just trying to understand, because nobody that I really knew like
did that.
I mean, like I knew like dudes that we recorded with, because I've been in the band for like 11 years now, but just for some reason it was just a big frustrating kind of like a source of frustration for me. But then slowly started getting into it more, and then understanding kind of how everything worked, and then just amassing the gear has been a big thing. Like if you don't have kind of a bit of startup money so that you could actually get all the stuff that you need, it's like fucking, I mean, kind of good luck, unless you, like you said, you have somebody that you could actually borrow equipment from, which must have been really huge.
Yeah, that was good. Mic stands and microphones and cables. I mean, there's so much to record a full band. You got to have a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Even to do it like in a kind of a crappy fashion, you still have to have enough mics and channels. So,
unless
but yeah,
you're like a super underground black metal band where like the shittier it sounds is more desirable. There was like I can't remember if it was Burzum or Mayhem, but in the 90s one of their albums they recorded, or maybe just an EP, was on like one of those straight up like voice recorders. Just in a room, like in like a cement room.
Yeah.
So there was so much extra, just like, and that was the desired effect.
Terrible. Yeah, I'm not really into that.
Like, I think the ambient noise is actually like more important than the instruments at that point.
I mean, like a $10 or $20 like voice recorder versus those fucking speakers that you have at your studio, like the shit that you like, the amount of money that you can sink into it. Like, do you think that people like put too much of an emphasis on gear, or is it really probably up to a certain level?
Too much of an emphasis too early.
Yeah, too early.
I feel like, I mean, it takes the learning curve for any kind of professional software, and I know this even recently as I jumped into the video world. So it was similar. I felt the same way as I did when I was first getting into audio, where it's like kind of what you described. It's like, how do I even start?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like you're looking around and it's all just like gibberish practically, and you don't even have an idea of what the proper workflow is or what to do first and then what to do next. I think there's a lot. I think that
one of the biggest things though is that you've already learned. Like, I mean, myself too. I learned a workflow of how to do recording pre-pro and stuff like that. And then since I was in high school, I did a lot of Photoshop, and the workflow translates in a way. And so that's probably why you had such a good leg up, because you just really recently got into camera stuff, like
the video stuff.
I guess that's right. You had a camera for quite a while, but
yet his fucking setup looks better than ours.
Yeah, fuck you, man.
Yeah,
that's
what
not
the hell
cool,
is this?
dude.
We've been doing it way longer. That's not cool. That's not cool. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
You gotta be struggling. I don't see any struggle with your video setup.
That's true. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'll be back in a couple minutes. I gotta set up the audio.
Yeah.
If Dean wasn't here, I would have no fucking idea.
I mean, it's a big thing too. Like, I learned a lot just because I had to help.
Because of me?
You're
like, welcome.
You talking about your progression with Reaper and like learning how to record, I had the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Where once I tried to start getting into like my own amateur recording, you would try to set it up and you'd be like, okay, what the fuck? How do I do this?
Yeah.
And you just like can't figure it out, and you even try to Google the answer, but I don't know, it's just like cryptic and I don't understand what they're saying. And then you just like rage quit and don't attempt again for another couple months or something. So it's like the slowest fucking progression. And I really don't know where the point came in where I was like, I can kind of record stuff on Reaper now.
Yeah.
And that like where that occurred, I don't know.
Well, I would say it's pretty close to the point where you would be like, Dean, it's not working. And then I would come over and press literally one button, and you'd be like, fuck, I knew it.
Yeah.
I was one.
Every time, dude.
It's always
every
one
time,
button.
because we were talking about this the other day, but like, I won't touch anything, and then I'll go back in the program and I'll just do the same thing I always do, and for some reason it's not working.
For some
this
reason
time.
it's something different.
And then I fuck around for so long, and then I finally like, Dean, and then he hits like one button, and I don't even see what he did. No. I don't even see. I'm like, what the fuck did you do? Why is it working? It's so annoying.
Like, that's that learning anything like this. It's like it's such a struggle right at the beginning, and then it slowly starts to even off. But I think people focus on gear probably in that early phase too much, where they're like struggling, and then Claire would be like, "Oh, I just need a new interface. This interface sucks," But the interface isn't the problem. Like,
it's your own stupidity.
You got to get used to. You got to be comfortable with what you have, as long as you have something that's like somewhat competent. And then when the gear purchases can actually like make a difference,
right?
Then spend the money then.
That would be like because I've always justified my camera purchases by, okay, how much money can this purchase make me? So like, if I really am going to purchase this new camera, am I just doing it because I saw other people on YouTube doing it? Or am I actually going to buy it and make more money because I own it? Yeah. And if I am, and if I can assume, okay, I think that'll help me make more money, or I think it'll make the product better or whatever, then I can justify actually buying it. Other than that, like, you put so much emphasis on gear. Some people do early on, when you can really, I mean, with cameras, you can get away with a cheap DSLR camera that shoots at 1080p and it looks awesome, and you won't need to upgrade for years. And even now, if you got one like that, it would be like, you really don't need 4K. I mean, it's great, but you have to upgrade all this other stuff just to even do it a lot of the times. I mean, I'm shooting this on my relatively new Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, which, I mean, the files for a podcast like this are like 120 gigs, right?
Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I had to upgrade my hard drives on my computer. I had to upgrade when I was trying out DaVinci Resolve. It was like, that's a really graphic card intensive for rendering, and so I upgraded my graphics card, and like so much stuff. And I was like, if I'll only do that if I'm like, okay, it's gonna make me extra money by picking up extra projects or whatever. But yeah, I mean, at the start, a 2-channel interface for recording, for doing guitars at home, is like, that's way more than enough. Like, it's gonna be, it's gonna suffice.
One question: when you installed your new video card, was the first thing you did render video or open Dark Souls?
Open Dark Souls. Open Dark Souls 3 was almost.
Oh yeah, you literally
you're like,
did do
you're
that.
like loading it as you're inserting the card.
Yeah,
like,
dude, fucking, he knows you so well. He literally did that.
I literally
because
did that.
when he installed the new video card, he's like, we gotta see how Dark Souls looks.
Yeah,
He's
Dark Souls
like,
looks.
send it to me.
So what card did you get?
I got the NVIDIA 1660 Ti.
Okay, 6.
Which is, I think, a pretty mid-range. It's not a super crazy card, but it was a big step up from the 980 or the 960. I can't remember the other one that I had. I think it was the 960 or 980. It's been a big upgrade, but honestly, because I switched back from DaVinci Resolve to Premiere, I'm like, it doesn't really help me.
It doesn't do a lot. Premiere's not real optimized for video cards. That's one of the reasons why I want to try and get into the Resolve thing, is because it runs so much faster and smoother and less laggy. And I have fast CPUs because the studio computer has to be fast, and then my home computer is just the last studio computer, which is still pretty fast, but yeah, Premiere is I get frustrated very easily.
You get frustrated with Premiere?
Yeah.
With the workflow of it?
Yeah, and particularly because of my 2 cameras. I have the Blackmagic 2, which I am just really starting to get comfortable with. But right now I'm on the Sony, and it's a little easier, like plug and play wise, has autofocus, and I can get moving quicker, it's smaller, that kind of stuff. And the Sony cameras are great, have really good quality, but the codecs are really difficult to work with.
Really difficult.
So always have to make proxies to even be able to scrub through the video at all. I mean, I just get tired of that stuff.
Claire's laughing at something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but when did you start video editing?
I don't know why.
No, Dave. Yeah.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah,
you know, like so much about it.
I jump down rabbit holes like nobody's business.
That's what
I have
exactly
a problem
what
with
Dave does
hobbies.
too.
Like, I find a new thing and I become obsessed with it. And there are weeks where I can't sleep. I'm up until 3 in the morning in bed, like reading things and watching YouTube, and half of it isn't even being absorbed. It's just like flowing through my brain and flooding out of my ears. Yeah. But I just can't think of anything else. And that's like literally, audio just happened to be the one that stuck. And then now it's like my job, so I have to do that. But I even sort of like fall in and out of love with audio stuff at times, because I'll have another thing that's like, when I first started doing video, I was like, fuck, maybe I should change. Maybe I should do this as a new career. Yeah. I got into brewing beer like 10 years ago so fucking hardcore that I literally was like mad that I had this sweet like job producing metal albums because I wish that I had opened a brewery. Yeah. I can't. I just go so far down. Like, I fall into this pit where it's all I can think about.
I remember you told me about a buddy of yours. So you told me about your buddy Nick, and you're like, this guy knows everything that you talk to him about. He'll just be like, oh, that's this, and then here's this, and then you're just like, isn't there something you don't fucking know? And I mean, that was the dude who gave us like a safety lesson when we went shooting, and that was the dude that's traveled around America in an RV, and that was like, I mean, the dude, I mean, he's every time you talk to him, like, okay, what the fuck? What? I feel like a fucking idiot now. But it's just funny because like some people, they just soak up way more information. And like, I know the feeling when you just obsess over something. Because when I first got into video, and I think also when you first got into video, you just like get so fucking stoked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked about it.
Yeah.
But Dean has a similar personality type to you, where when you first got your camera, I saw you like, that was all you did was just like Google about cameras, and you're trying to tell me about fucking settings and how shit works, and you're just like regurgitating all the stuff you had just been researching.
It's the only way I could remember it.
And then like, because when you first got your camera, you were kind of doing photography, and then you discovered that video was actually what was really fucking sweet. And then you went down like such an intense rabbit hole with that. So you sort of have that same personality type. I don't know. I think I'm more like, I love to have tons of different things going on, but I guess I'm like a fucking jack of all trades, master of none, because
well, I can tell you what Claire really likes. She really likes to film B-roll footage.
I love
with blurry, like lots of bokeh and lots of like just get the shallows, get the feel,
and like move it a lot.
That's her favorite thing to do.
I fucking love doing that.
I'd say pretty much in the world. And you love colors, so
I love colors. Well, so and that's
those
why
two things making a really colorful, awesome B-roll kind of creamy kind of whatever. You know?
that, and then like. The style of painting I started doing a few years ago, that is probably the most like intense I've ever gotten on a thing, because I was like obsessed with it. And
that stuff is super cool. Yeah, I haven't seen you post as much of that stuff recently, but
I'm not painting anymore because it's just way too hard to do in our apartment.
Yeah, you gas us out.
But as soon as I have money for an art studio, it's happening.
Any day now.
Yeah.
Any day. Any day we'll have that. Their check is coming in, Dave. Any day we're going to be getting enough money to have an art studio. Any day now. It's real soon. We're going to change our whole life, you know. So when you going back to when you started recording, you did some touring and stuff like that with Cephalic Carnage. Do you miss? I think I've talked to you about this before, but because you have a family, I know now it's probably a bit different. But do you ever kind of wish you just could go and do a month? I mean, not right now, but I mean like when it was sort of more possible. You wish to go back on tour?
I have recently been traveling more to either go to shows where friends of mine are playing in different places, or like a year or two ago, my good buddies and Khemmis did the Decibel tour, and the headliner of that. Well, I hung out with you guys actually, and
I saw you at our jam spot.
Vancouver.
I saw you at our jam spot.
You were like, I'll see you at the show, and then you were like,
I didn't go to the show.
Yeah.
Well, you remember the thing
Claire
you were talking about how
show.
you remember gun ranges? You said it was dark and loud and smelled bad. That's
kind of the same thing.
Well, sometimes I feel when I'm not on tour,
fair.
I don't really want to go to shows. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
so I was in your city, so rude. I did.
I don't feel bad.
So I did like a week of that tour with them, and it's enough to hold me over for like. It was really fun, and I wouldn't be upset if that were more of my life. But it was like a week of I was on tour with them. I flew in, and then I sold merch for them and helped them load out every night for like a week of this tour, and then I got to watch Enslaved. And Enslaved is like a personal favorite band of mine, like a top 5 band. So I got to watch them every night from side stage, and that was an awesome experience in itself.
But you were running sound and also selling merch?
No, I didn't run sound.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
I did not run sound.
I feel like I remember that. Yeah.
They had their own sound guy, and I haven't done sound in a long time, and it's a different game. It's all digital boards, and I've never worked on any of them, and I hate not being competent at something, especially being paid or expected to do a good job and not being able to deliver. So I was like, they wanted me to do something. I was like, I really don't want to, because I'm going to annoy the house guy because I'm not going to know what the fuck I'm doing. I won't be able to work fast. Even when I was doing live sound more often, I was never very fast because I kind of have a studio mindset where I want to get things a little more perfect than a live guy that just needs it in the mix, So, and then
it
it's
always
not
seemed
as
like
fun.
seemed like a very stressful job because you have to have all the routing, done. I mean, you got to have your program, especially like you said. Now everything's digital. You have the digital board with your scene already set up. All the routing changes. You have to know, you pretty much have to know your scene in and out so that you could really quickly change between things and troubleshoot. And the troubleshooting is the biggest thing.
They're not at a level where they had their own board, and I don't have my own board. So I'm just using the house board, and it's a different one every night. Probably like a third of them are the X32s or whatever. But then there's like the Midas one that's kind of different, and then there's like the Avid Venue systems that are kind of different. And there's there's like too many of them, and they all have their own workflows. And it doesn't like back in my day, you just look at a mixing board and it was like every channel was the same thing and you could see everything and you knew what it did. And there's very small differences that, you'd be like, well, how are you guys running this? And they explain to you and you're good to go. And it's not like that anymore. You have to have experience on all the different interfaces. And then also it's just like, I don't really want to do that. It's not fun. I probably wouldn't be very good. I haven't done it.
You would suck. You played Claire's played quite a few shows now with your band, The Hallowed Catharsis, and
thanks for the plug.
No problem. And when you play shows, do you ever see like an old big soundboard leaning against the wall? Some big old, because I've seen that quite a few times.
I see huge things over where the sound guy is.
Okay, all right. I don't even.
Just big fucking machines.
What I'm trying to say.
No idea what's going on.
Big machines. There. What I'm trying to say is that.
Like a big board with fucking all these plugs and dials and colors and lights, and I just it's like that's a thing over there.
What I've seen a lot across touring the U.S. and Canada and Europe, where it's like you just see a giant old soundboard covered in dust again, leaning up against the wall, and then a tiny new digital board that's like a tenth of the price, and it's just like
I haven't noticed anything like that. I don't know. The thing I'm thinking about the most is like the Astoria venue in Vancouver.
Astoria in Vancouver, yeah.
The sound guy, to me, looks like he's in a fucking DJ booth.
Right.
He's in like a big square that you take like a couple steps up to.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's using if there is some tiny little square in there that is the digital thing he's using now. Or what?
All right.
There's a lot of shit there.
A tiny little square.
And I have no idea what he's using.
That's cute. That's a cute way to describe it.
Well,
actually.
You said the digital thing is a tenth of the size.
Oh, I said a tenth of the price.
Well, and smaller. You said way smaller.
I said way smaller.
I mean,
so like tiny little square. I mean, they're always square or rectangular or something. So that's what I've noticed.
She has a point. Yeah.
You do have a point.
I've noticed
You're right.
Geometrical.
Everything you just said is correct. So
I can't fault you for the thing that you said, and I'm sorry for laughing.
I'm doing like a Donald Trump style of talking, where I just give very basic.
Yeah. I noticed that.
I'm glad I stopped.
Yeah. Avert.
Let's cut that out. Can we cut that out?
Yeah. We'll cut this out. Yeah.
Beep. Just like very basic terms, so it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but I actually have no fucking idea.
Right.
So like you said, nothing I said was incorrect.
Yeah.
But also nothing I said was valuable.
I feel like the camera that I'm watching has slowly shifted back towards Dean. I think he's doing that.
Claire keeps moving the fucking.
Don't blame this on me.
Is that what you wanted? Sorry. Okay. I'll move it towards Claire. Ugh.
There you go.
When you and I were talking about getting this, just make sure you don't press any of the fucking keys. You're pressing buttons.
What the hell was that noise?
You're pressing keys. So when we were talking about setting this up, I was just asking you a little bit of what it's like in Denver right now, and you said you're just outside of Denver. But what's the kind of like when you go outside? What do you see? Lots of people, or what's the vibe?
Yeah, a lot. I think there's still a lot of people walking.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be like everyone switched their tune, and now they're like wear masks. And before they were like don't wear masks.
Yeah. CDC just announced that like a day ago or something.
Yeah. So when I'm outside, or when I see people walking around the neighborhood, none of them have masks on. But to be fair, it's been a day or two. But I went to Costco this morning. It's like the first public place that I've been to in like 2.5 weeks. Trying to stretch that shit out. So I haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But we needed to load up, and I got stuff from my mom and dropped it off to her, so I'm trying to get everyone taken care of. And I went this morning early when they opened, and like 80% of the people in there, it was actually not hectic.
Right. Wow.
The lines were short. I think they were like controlling the flow, the store was.
Yeah.
And then like 80% of the people were in masks inside.
Wow.
I was actually pretty blown away.
I feel like the last few years, I don't know if this is like because I'm getting older or I don't know if you feel this, but I like watch too much news. So I'm very hopeful for a time in my life where I watch less news, because right now it's like all I think about and look at.
Definitely watches too much news.
Yeah.
I don't actually watch any news, but I read a lot of news.
Right.
So like
you think you're better than
Google,
us.
like my Google News feed, and then that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll check a lot, but I don't watch. I never ever put it on because
It's
it's bad.
It's so. I mean, dude, like. I remember when I fucking do not want to talk about politics, but I remember when Obama was in office, and I mean, hey, we're Canadians, so whatever, but
Yeah.
I didn't even fucking remember. And then now it's like every day you wake up and you're like, all right, Trump's president because he said something.
Yeah, ever since the
I wanna
sensation.
You guys, Canadians really are like traditionally obsessed with American politics.
Yeah, I want to stop.
Yeah, because
You
Canadian
kinda
politics are
are.
fucking really boring. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
mean, that's
remember
true.
in 2008 in junior high, my whole school
Oh,
was
hold
fucking...
on. Claire was in junior high in 2008.
Yeah, I was in grade 8 in 2008.
Just
How old are you guys?
I'm 26.
I'm
Okay.
32.
Yeah. Dean's a pedophile.
All right.
But yeah,
I did meet you when you were 19.
That's true. That's actually
All
true.
right, Dave. Okay, so the judgmental is not necessary here.
Chelsea's way younger than me, so I can't really
Right,
talk.
yes. Yeah.
How old is Chelsea?
27.
Mm.
And I met her when she was like a month away from being 21.
Whoa.
And I tried to go to a bar with her, and she got turned away. She'll
damn.
be so mad at me for telling that story.
That's so
Sweet.
funny. But yeah, in 2008, like my whole school was obsessed with Obama.
Yeah.
And people had like fucking "Yes We Can" shirts on and shit. And I mean,
That's funny.
myself included, if you had asked any of us like names of any Canadian politicians that were currently in
Yeah.
office, like maybe Harper was in office at that time.
2008, probably.
I think it
probably
was Harper.
Yeah.
But aside from that, we
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have been able to name a single person.
Yeah. You
But-
remember Jean Chrétien?
No.
No. Really?
I mean, the name is familiar, but I don't know what he did.
Well, he was the prime minister.
Yeah. Trudeau is the only Canadian politician that I could even like recall the name of ever.
Right. Yeah. Well, he is cute.
And that's really what it is. Yeah, he's a heartthrob. And
I mean-
I got my finger on the pulse of the
Yeah.
Canadian heartthrobs. So,
Where's your finger? No, I mean that is kind of true though, because he is just like a good-looking guy.
Well, you know what? Actually, I feel that like not all, but a lot of middle-aged women really lust
They
for him.
like Jason Momoa and they like Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, like everybody's mom is
Yeah.
like, oh my god, Justin Trudeau.
Well, he's got a good job. He makes a good income.
I don't think that's why they're acting that
He's
way.
got a fucking-
Because nobody acted that way about Stephen Harper, dude.
He has great costumes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Stephen Harper was like the worst.
Mm-hmm.
He was the fucking worst. So, but anyway, I don't want to fucking talk about it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
say it's
politics
like
is terrible.
I just really fucking want to stop thinking about the news. So hopefully all of this goes away within the next, more or less, things go back to normal within like 2 to 3 months, more or less.
Hang
even
on
though
a second here.
Yeah.
When
What?
was John Chrétien in office?
the same time as Bill Clinton, I think, or maybe, but they like overlapped, but it wasn't the exact.
So what years were that? It was around
I'm just
there?
I'll wait over here while you guys discuss
Sorry.
if you want, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we could just Google it, but we really don't need to.
I just want to justify my stupidity because
No, you're not stupid.
Whenever he was in office, I was too young to fucking
I mean,
care.
you were
Yeah.
born in 1994.
Yeah. So
Which is very
That's a-
strange because I remember Windows 90. Actually, I remember Windows 3.1.
which year is that?
I mean, 92 or something. Because I was a fucking nerd when I was a kid. And I went to my aunt and uncle's place in Harrison Lake, which is, it's in BC. And all I wanted to do was play on my uncle's laptop, and he had this game called Terminal Velocity, which was like a plane game where you like, it was like a fighter plane game. It was based in like sort of the future. And one of the older men at the party, who was a full adult, said, "Hey, look at the little nerd." And he like called me out in front of everybody in the party. And I was like, okay. And I couldn't.
It's been happening ever since.
Exactly. And I couldn't swim then, and I was terrified
I'm sorry,
to be.
Dave, did you say happering?
Yeah, Dave
I think
said
I probably
happering.
did. You could have just let that slide.
Yeah.
I don't let a word fuck up slide.
I fuck up words constantly, which
really?
makes recording videos like so difficult.
Okay, so
Because sometimes I don't even know.
How about this? How about this? When I'm on tour, oftentimes
Yeah.
I'll be like talking to somebody and somebody in the band. Generally, it'll be Spencer, our drummer. Will say, "You remember this venue? There was this and this, and there was these people here and this." And I was like, "No, I don't know, whatever. I don't." But I think about it, I don't remember it. And then I'm like, I started thinking, I was like, who in the like, what do I do on stage? And I'm like, I headbang quite a bit, and Spencer doesn't headbang. And I started talking to Ollie, our singer, and Toby, other guitar player. I'm like, you guys remember the last venue? I'm like, no, not really. I'm like, am I just getting brain damage every fucking show that I play?
Could be.
It's kind of scary, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So
CTE.
it's CT. I mean, yeah, and I fuck up my talking. And I mean, luckily Claire points it out. It's really helpful when she fucking points it out every time I fuck up my talking
Claire
every
does that
second.
too. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it's really great to have somebody like that around.
I fuck up my talking all the time. I love to point it out.
I'm listening to every
think
word
it's
coming out right
hilarious.
now. Every fucking
No,
word.
Chelsea makes fun of me. I'll switch words. I'll call
Right.
doors windows.
Oh my
Yesterday-
god, dude! Totally.
Yesterday I was talking about the hallway in the studio and I called it an aisle. Like,
Oh, that's
so,
cute.
That's- I
Actually,
like
I mean,
that.
it's
yeah, I like that.
it's
I
like
like
it's kind of it, but I'll
it sounds like the Canadian way to say.
I like
hall.
that.
Yeah.
Like the next
I
time someone's over
constantly-
and they say, "Where's the bathroom?" I'm gonna say, "Down the aisle there."
Down the aisle.
Yeah, I like it.
That's cute.
Speaking of the
I like
bathroom, I'm gonna go pee and then we'll
Okay.
continue this.
We're doing something new, even though this is just the second episode. Here's a section that we're going to do at the end of these conversations, where
Cool.
we reach out to the Discord community that we have and just answer some questions,
Sure.
Yeah.
or at least ask you some questions, and hopefully maybe you have answers for these people desperately seeking answers.
Yeah. So Hymno has a question that's actually very similar to a question I wanted to ask you. So I'll speak his question and then I'll add my tale.
Speak his question.
So Hymno says, would love to know some horror stories / difficulties during the recording and production process. So that's similar to my question because I wanted to know, like, what is your least favorite and favorite part about recording?
I don't really know. I probably can't say least and most favorite, but I can like get in those ballparks. I just can't. I couldn't really put like one at the bottom or the top, but I will
Would you say that drum editing is probably near the bottom?
Yeah, but that's also really fulfilling because it sounds so cool when it's done. And
Right.
also, I lately have been offloading more of that to
Perfect.
my homeboy Charlie, my assistant, my new assistant Charlie. He's badass.
Oh yeah. Cool.
But for the really tech stuff, I have to ease him into that. Like if I sent him
Right.
Archspire drums to edit, it would be bad. Not that he would do a bad job, but he may like hurt himself,
Right.
because it's not fun. But drum edits is not fun. In tech death in particular, there can be times where it kind of gets a little bit like monotonous. Like guitar tracking is really fun, but it's just like take. There's not. It's so intricate work, and there's so much time spent just getting like perfect performances that sometimes you feel like the creativity can kind of like be missing a bit. It feels a little more like a factory job.
Yeah.
At times, because
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, next riff, okay, double that, okay, fix this part, next riffs. That isn't super fun.
Do you feel like that's gotten a little bit better now that you've been recording with the Evertune bridge?
I still don't have an Evertune. I want to get Evertune guitars, and I have only done one project with Evertunes,
Right.
but
Okay.
I'm way all about them.
Yeah.
That does help because there's less tuning. Tuning
Yeah.
is the worst. That is one of the
Yeah.
worst parts of recording. Is constantly having a tune.
Right.
So the Evertune takes care of that. So
Great.
that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's sort of like across the board. You have equal hatred for every element, every aspect of recording.
Pretty much, yeah.
So,
That's a good way to put it.
What about like recording versus editing versus like cutting clips and then like mixing and mastering?
The recording and editing for me it's kind of part of the same process. So and I you know what, my favorite part of my job is getting to do all of that and getting to work with a lot of different styles of music.
Right.
Well, I guess it's all mostly metal or like hard rock at like the softest. But I have maybe more variety within that realm than a lot of guys do, you know? They kind of, some people are more focused on one thing.
Yes.
But I get to do a lot more than that, which is cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part would be the sense of accomplishment after a super long project. So like after the 6 weeks or 7 weeks, whatever we spent on the Archspire album, and then you're done and you can listen to it and you can remember back to all of the hard work and like ideas and like back and forth that happened throughout the whole process, and you can listen to it and be super proud of something and be really stoked on how it came out. Everyone's like, the camaraderie is really cool. Everyone's like, oh, real stoked. You know, that's my favorite part, I think, is
the sense of fulfillment.
Well, you could even you could say that the real music are the friends that we made along the way.
Oh my God, this podcast is over.
Is that the music?
I don't know. I was trying to listen to him and come up with a dumb thing to say at the same time.
Yeah, well, good job.
Yeah,
I've got a lot
of something dumb.
I got a lot of nerdy questions here. Do you want to like do rapid fire, like 2 or 3 different nerdy kind of questions?
Sure, I'll do my best.
Okay, just because like these are very specific questions. I have a username that actually is. These are nicknames.
Yeah, so people choose their own.
Yeah, so on our Discord. So we got Dean Bean, which is my name.
And probably not that guy's name.
And almost definitely not his name. He just says EQ tips for electric guitar.
I will say that I have like a few moves. I realized this because I've done a lot of mixing over the last year. A few moves that I pretty much do every time and start off every guitar sound. And all of my guitar sounds are coming from my amps typically, so that this obviously could vary. But I'm going to high pass at somewhere between 50 and 60 hertz, pretty sharp. I'm going to probably low pass anywhere between 7K and maybe all the way up to like 10K.
Right.
I'm going to cut a good amount of low mids around the 300 hertz with like a fairly wide Q. And then I'm going to treat by cutting somewhere in the probably like 2.2K and then somewhere in the 4K, probably 2 cuts there.
Right.
And then sometimes maybe I'll do a wide boost around like 6K or so just to kind of re-brighten it up after I pull some of those mids out. And that's like the basic EQ curve of like every guitar tone that I ever do.
Do you find this weird that I feel like guitar tone has gone in a big switch from the 90s? You cut a lot of mids. You have Dimebag Darrell, which like just all the mids are gone and is like very like a total flip. Is that because the industry has looked at it differently? Is that because people's ears have adjusted to something, or is it because like we just realize now more about how to make a good record, or like what is the switch?
I think it's just taste change.
Just taste.
You know, and it's like not like even beyond like guitar EQs, like the whole feel of albums. Like for 10 years ago, like there was no drum room sound in any metal record. Right. Like not especially technical stuff. It was all close mics, super clear and pristine, right in your face. And then now every snare is like, you know, like even in tech bands. So. Things ebb and flow, and then there was a period where everything had to be super edited, and then everyone loved that sound, and then when that became overused, things, you know, it's like just like politics, man. It's like it goes too far in one direction, and then everyone's like, ugh, and then it like swings back. It probably goes too far, and then some other element changes. So you kind of got to like I'm always trying to like balance that, like what listeners are currently expecting to hear versus what my like overall tastes are, you know. So
that's cool. I have a classical anecdote that sort of reminds me of, because instruments used to be tuned at a 415 and now it's at 440, and so that was like through the Baroque and early classical, it was 415, and I don't really know why that changed or how that changed, but it does seem like a mass sort of opinion shift, that it just sort of like moves the desired sound. And I think it's really interesting because like all the Baroque music we listen to would have actually sounded lower.
Right.
We have Chelsea and I have an upright grand piano that is from the late 1800s, and it was originally tuned to 435. It's stamped on the soundboard a 435.
That's so
and
cool.
We actually had to tune it when we get it tuned up. I think they tune it to 432 because they're like this so old that if we try and bring it all up to 435, it might crack the soundboard or strings are going to start breaking. So it sounds great and it's a really cool piano, but if you try and play it with anything, it's like 8 cents off, which is just enough to be like, oh God.
Yeah.
But by itself,
it sounds fine.
It you don't notice like anything sounding slightly different.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say I have like perfect pitch, and you may know, Claire, but some people have said that doesn't actually exist. Like people can't just absolutely know without a reference, like if something is like a 440 or not. I have pretty good relative pitch, which I think a lot of musicians could probably claim.
For sure.
But I can't. Even if I listened to that and I didn't have a reference, I don't know that I like a 415 or whatever you're saying. I don't know that I could really tell.
Yeah, the only thing you would be able to tell would be just because certain, like the setup of a certain instrument is going to vibrate differently. And I mean, like, hey, if you have a piano, everything's generally sympathetically tuned anyway, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the low notes and high notes are not totally in pitch, but they're in pitch with each other more because of how our system of music favors the octave over the perfect fifth.
Well, that was the whole thing, like equal temperament versus like they had like Pythagoras temperament all in like the Baroque period when they're trying to figure out like how the fuck are we going to tune a keyboard instrument, because you can either have like a perfectly tuned perfect fifth or a perfectly tuned perfect fourth.
Clear your throat.
Sorry. but you can't have both. Yeah. And that's why Bach composed the well-tempered clavier, the whole thing, because he wrote a piece of music in every single key. And his argument was that well-temperament was the best tuning system to use because it made every key signature sound pretty good, whereas the tuning system they were using before Bach made a bunch of the key signatures that used more black keys sound like shit. Really? So that's why older pieces aren't in like D flat major and shit like that.
So back then, the key, because right now a key signature really, I mean, if you play a song in one key versus another key, if it's a semitone apart and I haven't heard them right next to each other, they're generally going to sound pretty much the same to me because everything is equal temperament. But you're saying that before that system was around, if you heard it in a different key, it could actually sound worse.
The intervals themselves would have worse tuning. So like a song in C major would sound a lot better in terms of like the tuning of the intervals versus a song in D flat major that used a lot of the black keys. And at this time it was a harpsichord, like there was not a piano yet. Right. But like there were just keys that the intervals sounded like shit.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that. So I don't know if we have too many more questions. People started talking about guitar riffs and stuff like that. Well, it's been very fun to have you hanging out on this podcast, Dave. I want to ask you if you have anything you want to plug, or if you want to like give a shout out to anybody. Or one thing that I could say before you even start talking, and you shut your mouth for 1 second, is that we're both using Rode microphones. Mm-hmm. And we're using the pod mics, and you're using the Procaster?
Procaster, yeah.
And that one is, and now I'll find out once I get the video, it's going to sound quite nice, I imagine.
It sounds good, yeah. I'm actually comparing the pod mic with the Procaster and the studio standard SM7 in a video for my YouTube channel. That cool. I don't know when this is coming out, but that should be coming out soon. I sent you the little intro thing I edited. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
The thing. It's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. I don't want to. It's with he's showing the mics.
Oh, yeah,
we lost our shit laughing at that.
Yeah, Dean laughed really hard at that.
Oh my, that's my favorite type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like we did a video where Claire and I were talking about. She was like, "Oh, in the video, I'm like." Talking about her laser eye surgery, and I said, well, that's why you have laser vision. And she says, yeah, exactly. And she's like, and does that.
Yeah.
And then during the video editing, she said, oh, yeah, and you can edit in laser eyes for me afterwards. And so during the video, every time she would do it, I put a little box that said, Claire wanted me to animate this, and there's no fucking way I'm going to spend 2 hours of my time doing it or whatever. And every time she did it, I would put another box like, seriously, I'm not doing it. And then the very last 2 seconds of the video, It took me 3 hours to fucking get it done, and it's like, and her eyes like glow up and stuff like that.
Oh my god!
And she lost her shit laughing
my
when she
shit.
watched it.
You gotta tell me what's
It's
video
so
because
good.
It's
the piano one.
Yeah,
the
it's the
attempts
piano one.
piano.
Okay.
Yeah, when I watched that, I was so fucking stoked because I asked him. I was like, please put laser edits in, and I only asked him because I was like, yeah, it'll take me fucking 6 hours. It'll take you 3 hours. Like I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then when I started watching it, it's like I'm not gonna do it. I immediately believed him. So I was like, yeah, that's a bummer, but I understand. That's a lot of work. So I watched the video, and then at this point, you're at the end of the video. You don't expect.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen at this point. And then I just like look to the side, and it's like.
the
so
thing that
so
I always remember when I'm like, because I love editing videos now. Like, I basically get to use my love of like early series Simpsons. Like all the jokes in that show, I'm just like, oh, I get to make that into my own video. But there's a rule in some writing that I've heard. I think the South Park guys say it. It's a pretty common rule in writing. It's if you mention a gun in the room, then somebody has to use it. So like if any story mentions a gun or an item or something, then that means it has to be used in the story. So if you're fucking talking about laser eyes, I'll make a joke about it, but it's got to be in there. Otherwise it does and when it does, it lands really well and it's really funny.
I think my favorite edit of all time that I've done.
Oh yeah,
was
you've done some great edits.
The first video we ever did together is one that I edited, and
actually, while you're talking this, I'll put it on the screen as well.
Yeah, there's a part where Dean is trying to talk to the camera, and then I start like practicing the riff or whatever, and I don't know, I think the volume was off, and he just like stops mid sentence and like slowly turns to me and just like looks me up and down and waits for me to stop. And then once I stop, he looks back at the camera and starts his sentence over again. And so when I saw this editing, I was like, okay, I have to fucking make a thing out of this scene. Yeah. So I put that song by Carl Orff, O Fortuna, which is the like, ba 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 ba, that like super epic choir song. And so he turns to me and there's like all these flames.
Yeah, all these flames and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at it. Just absolute rage.
And you were on tour, I think, when I was doing that. So I was alone in the apartment, like fucking laughing, crying with laughter. And then like the next day, I went and watched it again and was just laughing equally as hard. Like I think it's that like sense of fulfillment again when you edit the joke. Yeah, it's almost funnier because you appreciate the work it took to do it. Yeah.
So you're starting up some new videos on your channel. So I'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the description. You did a bunch of cool videos on just like recording process and stuff. Do you have anything that you can say about like stuff that you're filming soon or as the next
I'm
video
doing
project?
that. My comparison, I kind of, since I don't really have anything to do for the next month other than whatever I can pick up. Yeah, I was like, well, it's a good thing to get good time to get back in the video thing because I was way into it and then I just got so busy with normal studio stuff. For sure, and it's really difficult to do both, and I quickly get burnout. I realized I did burn myself out trying to do both, and it's like difficult to do my actual job to its fullest potential when I'm also trying to like wrangle cameras and stuff like that, unless I really have a lot of time to do that and I don't feel rushed. But that's rarely the case because I'm always feel rushed in the studio. So I have kind of fell off the video thing for a while, but I do enjoy it, and then I'm trying to get back into it again now. So there'll be some stuff happening. I have a few videos that are in like various stages of completion and have some more ideas, but maybe some of your Discord viewers, listeners, chatters can throw some ideas out there.
Yeah.
What videos would you like to see?
What videos would you
studio
like to see?
guy? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have a really awesome way of explaining things and very clear, and the editing is very smooth. So it's like enjoyable to watch. So hopefully, people that are watching this head over to your channel and check out some of the videos you've done.
Oh, thanks.
Oh,
Thanks,
no
Dean.
problem. No problem. So yeah, well, thanks for hanging out. And is there anything else you wanted to say before
I wanted
close
to
the
plug? I think close the old plug bag.
close the old plug bag? Yeah. We're gonna keep the plug bag open.
The old plug
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Plug bag is open for a moment.
Yeah, the plud.
This fucking guy can't even talk.
The plud. See, I call myself out,
Yeah.
so you know.
So
Okay,
is that
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
The YouTube channel. I've done some cool albums recently. The Cattle album, Death Atlas. Check that out.
Right.
Just
Very
spent a
good, by the
long
way.
time.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we both really enjoyed it.
Spent a long time with a band called Tetrarch from California. That's very different from Cattle, but it's still really cool stuff. That's not out yet, so but watch out for it. I don't know when this is going to be live. I've done some mixes recently. I've got some cool stuff coming up. Hopefully later this year, as long as the world returns to some sort of normalcy. So
yes.
I mean, honestly, like that's
so
all
too.
kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Just check out the channel.
Yeah, check out the channel for now. That's pretty much the main thing that you're doing for the next month or so. So
yeah,
I'll hopefully get some people checking your stuff out. So yeah,
Sweet.
thanks for hanging out, and maybe we'll chat again if people can stand looking at all of our ugly faces.
Cool.
Excuse me.
No. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.